Welcome to number 10. As you see, spring is in the air in down under, although it's a bit of a cloudy day today. This is again covering the period between 1991 and 1999. Chapter 3. Trips on the sidecar within Tasmania became numerous. Hobart for the toy run and day trips. Ashley's only required a little more attention than if he was not inflicted with his muscle complaint. We built up our savings in 1991 and for a Christmas trip over to Melbourne. Due to work commitments, I had to travel separately late on Christmas Eve after Kerry and the kids in the morning. It was a more relaxed atmosphere in 1992. I was working full-time as an accountant in Devonport. Damien had just started prep and Kerry stayed at home looking after Ashley. She took Ashley to pre-kinder at the Steel Street pre-kinder for special children a couple of times a week. It was similar to Handy Help Brunswick in that classes consisted mainly of intellectually disabled children. Also once a week Kerry took Ashley to a play group with other pre-kinder children. He found making friends with the others very easy. He was a very social kid. One particular woman who brought her children to the play group and we developed a friendship with later died in 2004 of breast cancer. She was only in her 30s. Why do some beautiful people have to die young? An exchange student teacher from Japan, Aya, stayed with us in 1993 and we were unable to go to the toy run that year. However, we made many trips around Tasmania to show Aya around Australia's beautiful island state. The first one being the Tulip Festival in Wynyard. Prior to Aya's arrival in September, we went on a trip to Queensland. We took a boat to Melbourne and a train from Melbourne to Sydney. In Sydney we hired a car and drove to Noosa. We spent 3 days on Fraser Island, sleeping in a tent, often close to the ocean, and visited Surfers Paradise for a week, enjoying the sun and the theme parks. We were determined not to let Ashley's condition stop him from enjoying life. Ash joined in everything whenever he could. Because he wasn't a large boy, he was easy to carry around. Ashley went to kindergarten at East Ulverston in 1994. He was fast in learning how to read and write. He loved books and his early love helped him later in life as a quick and good learner academically. Ashley's impeccable timing and eye-to-hand skill was often highlighted even at this early time, such as when, as part of the ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Open Day in Launceston, the Gone Fishing Show had set up a casting competition and children would in groups of 4 try to cast to a target. Ashley wasn't even 5, was matched up with a boy about 8 and 2 girls about 7. This will be easy, was the remark Damien heard from the boy. Ashley had a couple of practice shots and the third shot hit the bullseye. He won easily. In 1994, Aya returned to Japan. 1994 was a hard year as I was retrenched and later sacked from my accounting job. Kerry and I started up Miller's Muffins. It was a low income but fantastic to be able to spend more time together as a family. We wanted to go to the toy run in 1994 but couldn't afford it. However, on a trip to Melbourne that year, Ashley discovered Donkey Kong and later in 1995 he got his first video console, SNES. Damien was a better player at first but Ashley quickly began catching up. At this stage he was only 6 years old. I jumped would be Damien's cry, trying to negotiate a bad mushroom or a shy guy, and after a while Ashley started saying it too. Damien wasn't as patient as Ashley and would get frustrated, while Ashley's strategy was patient, observant and working through tactics. The last SNES game they had together was called Super Knockout, with the audience being the entire family. Damien beat Nick Bruiser, although he was helped by Ashley, and I regarding with tactics. It didn't take Ashley long to master the game. Ashley loved to get magazines about computer video games. It gave him a chance to read up on the latest releases, and it was through a magazine that he found out about Nintendo 64 coming up. During 1995-1996, we had regular cricket matches in our backyard with Ashley and Damien. Ash had an uncanny knack of timing with the bat that always amazed Damien and me. Damien found it difficult to bowl him out. Ashley enjoyed his time in preps and grade 1 during 1995-1996 at East Ulverston Primary. In 1996 I was able to get a low-paid accounting job, and it wasn't satisfying work. When I heard of a teacher shortage, I applied to UTAS in Sandy Bay for primary early childhood education training. In early 1997, Kerry and I made a trip to Hobart to find rental accommodation. We found a place in Sandy Bay to start off with, but continued further south for a while and ended up in Kingston. Damien was in grade 5 and Ash in grade 2. They both attended Kingston Primary School. Ashley became very popular in school, Kingston Primary grade 2, and he developed a strong friendship with a boy named Neil. They played chasings, and it was then that Ashley learned to dodge. Neil also encouraged Ash in the playground and supported him by standing up to the school bullies on his behalf. In 1997, Ashley had taught himself how to reserve books through the library's Talus system. I was quite amazed by this, since he self-taught himself, and I'd often find that he'd taken out or put on hold around 10 books at once. Ashley was an avid reader and soon became a top reader in his class of 1997, grade 2, and his favourite books being the Goosebumps books by R.L. Stine and books by Paul Jennings, written for ages 9 to 12. For a child his age, Ashley was very knowledgeable, and this was mostly due to his love of books and reading. I was a student at university during 1997 and 1998, and as I had no job obligations, we decided to take a 3-week holiday through Beaumaris, Wonthaggi, Nepean Country Club Resort, Bega, Canberra and Fawkner. Ashley joined in a cricket match at Nepean and enjoyed the vehicle expeditions in Bega with his cousins. While we were away, there were bushfires in Kingston, but thankfully it didn't affect our house. Grade 3 was another of Ash's favourite years at schools, and he retained a high amount of popularity during this time. In August 1998, at the end of Term 2, we decided to move back to Ulverston. The class at Kingston Primary had a farewell party for Ash. A friend of his leaked information about the party, so Ash pretended to be surprised when he walked in. We would call this doing a Jeffrey, after the character from the television series Hetty Wainwright investigates, as in one episode of the show, Hetty's helper Jeffrey is promoted by Hetty and he gives a huge surprised look. Ashley always took others' feelings into consideration.